In Redwood Massacre 2, Annihilation, we see the hunters become the hunted after a stranger obsessed with the Redwood Farm murders convinces bereaved family members to venture into the wilderness in hopes of proving the existence of the notorious burlap mask maniac. But I'm not going to say too much more about the film because we have probably the world's foremost expert on the film, David Ryan Keith, the writer, director, editor. What else have you done on this movie? Cinematographer? We were just talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, the sound just yeah.
Well, welcome and thank you for coming on the show with us. We couldn't
You're
be more excited to talk about well, specifically the Redwood Massacre 2, but maybe the Redwood Massacre in general. But first, before we get too deep into it, I want to give you a chance to plug anything that you have going on right now. Any big projects coming up? You told us that I think in a few weeks you're going on to a new film project.
Yes, the start of October we shoot like a horror action movie called Savage Prey. So
Okay.
It's like a mad rush here at the moment to try and we've only been given a month to pull the movie together, so it's a bit of a mad rush to get it all done in time before the cameras roll. So
is that pretty standard, the time crunch to you hear that you're going to do something and then you're like, okay, you have 3 seconds to put it together?
Not normally as bad as this. I think the worst one we had was for a movie called I Am Rage, where we had 2 months from a blank script to a shoot date. So at least for this one, we had a script, but like a month to pull a feature movie together. Yeah, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. But it's just the way it goes in the independent film. So my fingers are crossed. Will we make it? I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Well, awesome. I think you got a lot of good behind the scenes stuff for us that I can't wait to get out. If you're watching this or you're listening to it, make sure you follow us, subscribe to Compelled by Schlock. Make sure you go over to David's channel, ClearFocusMovies. Did I get that correct?
Yeah.
I keep messing it up whenever I say it to myself, because there was a production company when I was in college called ClearFocus Media, Clearwater Media, and so my dyslexic brain keeps mixing things up. But ClearFocusMovies, you got a YouTube channel, you have a web page, so make sure you guys go and check that out. And something very interesting is that on your web page you have the uncut versions of the Redwood Massacre and Redwood Massacre 2. So real quick, can you tell me why you have those for free on your webpage? When I went and watched it, no ads or anything?
Yeah, I really shouldn't, but
or is that maybe a story for later?
I mean, they shouldn't be there, but it's just really because the movie's been resold to so many YouTube channels that are kind of taking it upon themselves to cut the movies, because obviously to get the ad revenue, you need to try and remove as much as the gore as possible. So I was just kind of getting sick of people commenting on the cut films. I was like, here you go, here's the original ones. You can go and check them out. Not that it might make any difference to their viewing experience, but at least they can see them the way they were intended.
Well, and that's exactly how we got hooked up, because we reviewed the first film and we were saying, like, I think specifically I was saying, this was cut and we never see it. And that made it hard for me to follow. And you're like, no, like it happens on screen. You watch the wrong version. And so we kind of started talking about that back and forth and decided, hey, come on the show and we can get some of this out, some of the behind the scenes business stuff of what happens with independent film. But let's go on to, I guess I should say how we do the show. Normally we do good, bad, and schlock, what we like, what we didn't like about a movies, and then about a movie, and then the big ideas, big themes that stand out in movies. We're going to try and keep it in that format a little bit, but really we're
Okay.
just give you the floor to tell us all about it. But let's start with our section of Web of Schlock, is generally where we talk about the cast and crew of these films. Who put this all together? David, if you could elaborate for us.
So the first movie, it was self-financed. We financed it. So the crew was really made up of local actors available to us, and a lot of the crew were just friends and sometimes family that would kind of help us push the movie over the finish line. Compared to the second one, which was like a mix of crew from the UK and half crew from Los Angeles. So the two movies were so different in that regard. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really liked the cast in both films, but it seems like very different, like finding local actors that you need to get there fast and different things. And then casting the second movie, you see a lot of people who have credits going back decades and decades. Can you talk a little bit about like the differences between casting both? Because I really liked both casts, but it seems like there's some interesting things there.
So, I mean, the first one, if I'm honest, we just had to search out and find the best of what we could locally. Where I live in Scotland, it's a compared to you guys' cities, it's very small. So, like the acting pool is also very small, and because we self-financed it, we didn't shoot it over a block of say 18 days. We shot it at weekends because a lot of the actors still worked. So we had to find people that would really commit to maybe like 7 months of making this feature film. So that narrowed it down pretty quick. I think we had at one point we did have other actors, and then when they realized, wow, I'm gonna have to give up my weekends for like a year. So in that sense, that's how we kind of pulled off the first one. And then obviously we made a couple more movies, and once Redwood Massacre 2 came around, it was completely different because we had made a lot of money with the first one, and the producers who wanted to make the second one had connections to crew, actors, people from bigger movies, and that's how I kind of got mixed up in that. So it was I'd like to say I cast the second one, but I didn't really. It was like the producers put forward people for us to pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, the two movies are yin and yang. One was made like 2014, self-financed, like $30,000. The second one's $250,000, made in 2020. So the difference, the experience of making both movies was just so different.
So did the new cast, did that influence the decision to kill off the final girl from the previous movie, or she had to go back to her weekday gig? Or
well, you know what, it's actually kind of funny because when we got told they were interested in making the second one, like enough time had passed that I just assumed no one had watched the first one. So the way and even though it made a lot of money for an indie film, but the way I approached the second one was I'll do it as a standalone movie, so people can, if they see Danielle Harris' name, they can watch the film without seeing the second film, kind of thing. So I stuck in the actress from the first just as like a little kind of Easter egg, I guess, for anyone that might have seen the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then, as it turns out, when the second one came out, a lot of the criticism was, it turned out a lot of people had watched the first one and would have preferred all the usual horror tropes and all the kind of stuff we thought didn't work in the first one. So it's like, it was one of those things. You just it doesn't matter what you do.
You can't please everyone.
Quite work. Well, yeah, you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Friday the 13th Part 2, where you have your main survivor from the first film, and they get offed, within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the second film, which I think maybe also people didn't like, but you were introduced to another cast of characters that people fell in love with anyway. So
and you know what? The actress who played it in the first movie, Lisa Cameron, I mean, we really put her through hell. Really cold nights of filming, covered in blood. So I thought, I've got to put her in the second one somewhere.
Yeah,
because it was
Right.
it was a kind of shame that they were just we were discarding the first film.
Right.
The actors in the first film, they put a lot of effort and a lot of time into the movie.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, the bad guy, the guy who plays the burlap sack man, that's the same actor?
Yes, he was the same actor. Yeah,
Nice.
Is he actually that big?
he's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's
Awesome.
a big guy. And in the second movie, there's another big guy called Gary Casper, and
Yes.
I think even Ben, who plays the burlap killer, he was even bigger than him. So it was, yeah.
Was that kind of a no-brainer to recast him? Was that ever up for issue, or you're like, well,
No. Well, the guy who plays the killer, he's a horror fanatic. So it didn't really. He probably knows more about horror films than me, to be honest. So a lot of the stuff he added to because the character's so one-dimensional, it's so stereotypical. He would add in all like the cool stuff to try and give it a slightly different edge, if you could say that. So yeah, I was not, even though I'm probably having to recast him for the third because he doesn't want to come back.
Oh,
well, I mean, there's also a classic history of like keeping the same actor for a couple films and then recasting him in horror. I mean, like you think of Jason and
it's working out that way.
Yeah.
I'll get him back somehow.
There you go. Any other questions you had in Web of Schlock, Darby, or should we move on to Schlock itself?
Yeah, let's move into our Schlock section, and we'll kind of pick your brain on sort of the themes of the movie or the inspiration of the movie or what came out. The first question that I have to ask is that I see this in various places on the internet, the Redwood Massacre based on a true story. Is there any truth to that at all? Is there any like local lore or legends, or did you get this out of thin air?
Absolutely no truth in that. That's just a distributor marketing campaign to suck anyone into thinking it happened.
Well, it worked.
It did work, and I still get messages to this day if people asking me if it's a real. I'm like, are you crazy? Did you watch the movie? Of course, it's not based on a true story. It'd be world famous,
right?
Well, and yeah, movies do this all the time. I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They always say based on a true story, and I think they say based on the Ed Gein murders. Very, very, very different from anything that you see in any of the movies, right? If it is, it's just the fact that somebody killed somebody somewhere at some point in time. That's the only connection it has to true events.
And that was the problem with the first Redwood Massacre, because there's no famous people in it. There's just a big killer. So they were just using any tactic they could to slap on the cover, just to maybe get an eye, to keep someone's eyes on the film for a little bit longer before they made the mistake of buying it.
I think the based on a true story is just a classic horror trope now, though. Like you see it all the time. Like it's just part of the camp and the fun of it. Like, is it based on a true story or not? It doesn't matter. It there's a fun vibe when you have that at the beginning of your film or before. So
well, but speaking of marketing, there's also something very interesting with this that I didn't realize until after I watched the film. There's a book that is a companion piece to the movie. It's the book that the character Tom is selling in the movie, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, there's actually 2 books. So there's 2 separate authors that did books, and I think the one that's based on the second, he kind of puts it out, it's a true story. So he kind of leans into that kind of lore. So I'm not sure. I've never really asked if the books do well or not, but yes, it's actually the real cover from what's in the movie.
Yeah,
which I thought was hilarious.
yeah.
Well, I think it's funny. It says the Redwood Massacre tetralogy. What is that? 5? It's supposed to be 5 books. Is that what a tetra is?
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So I thought maybe that was another marketing thing. Say like, oh, this is a whole saga. But
I think it was a good idea. I could see what he was trying to do. So I'd be curious to see if anyone's actually buying the books.
Have you read it?
I did read one of them. I'm not sure which one, but
was that your idea, or did someone approach you with that idea, or was that distributors, or where did that fall into the marketing?
I think the first. So there was actually a guy from England who loved the first movie, and he came up to be an extra in the library scene at the start of the second.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh, can I turn this into a book?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, if you want to write a book, go for it. And then the second guy is someone that's helped in some of my older movies. Okay. And he was like, "I'm going to turn it into a book too." I was like, "Go for it. Good for you guys. Hopefully it works out. It was worth the effort." So.
Yeah.
Do you get any sort of residual from that?
Or? No. I mean, I was just like, go for it, guys.
But this is all your brainchild, correct?
But by the time you do these movies, and by the time you're finished with them, you're just like, you guys do it. I'm on to the next thing. So
someone else play in this world. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still free advertising.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so if it's on their onus, I guess, to keep promoting their books to make sales, and it only kind of creates a lore around the movies I've done. So
nice. There were lots of different story elements in the second movie that they felt like someone lived in that horror world. I saw bits of Psycho and bits of Alien and bits of slashers and bits of all sorts of different story ideas that have like come before you. I was wondering if you could kind of discuss your various inspirations for the story you eventually told.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think back. I think one of the biggest takeaways from when we did the first one, and the whole point of the first one, it wasn't like a passion thing where I'm like, I want to make a slasher movie. It was actually, we'd made another movie, it failed, and I was like, right, I'm going to make a horror film. There's the horror audience. I'm going to make it slasher, put a stereotypical killer, and I'll put all the tropes in, and let's see if we can push that through into distribution, and maybe the doors open.
Right.
And then obviously when people watched it, they're like, "Oh my God," it's like everything is a horror trope, basically all the way to the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. So for the second one, I was like, right, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to try and develop, can I develop characters in a slasher film? So that kind of shaped the story. And then obviously when we knew the locations we were going to have, it just kind of fell into, yes, it reminds you of different movies you've seen in the past. And
okay.
So, and then ultimately when the second one came out, they're like, "Oh, it's got too much backstory, character development." And then the first one is, "Oh, there's no character development." But
right.
Hopefully the third one, when it gets made, we kind of somehow meet in the middle.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, the third is going to be the last.
Right. It's interesting because you've written most of your films, right?
Yes.
Or co-written them. It's interesting where you talk just now about location influencing the script and the story itself. And that makes sense for independent filmmakers. Like, this is the location I have access to. So I have a basic story, but I'm going to reshape it around
yes,
the location. Do other factors besides location come into play when you're rewriting your own script, or even initially coming up with a story idea? It's
You
really
know what?
interesting to me.
You pretty much nailed independent film there. It's location, location, location. And the reason for that is I only get 18 days to shoot movies. If it's a horror film, 18 days. If it's an action movie, it's 18 days. So when you're scheduling out movies, when you're writing the script, you're really putting yourself into a box. Because I quickly realized, like a good example, maybe in Redwood Massacre 1, there was meant to be a big fight and they're chucking each other through walls, and I'm writing this. I'm like, oh, wow, it's going to be amazing. And then you get there and you're like, well, we can't do any of that. These are real walls. This doesn't. So as I've progressed writing films, it is all about, right, where are we going to shoot? What can we actually shoot there? Like, how long would it take to move the production from this set to that set? So it's a sad kind of way of doing the movies, but I think the more movies I do, and especially the one I'm on my way to do now, where I've taken that to the next step, where it's so well planned out, location-wise and time-wise, it's the only way you can really get through them. Okay. So it totally dictates your script in a sad way, but then it just allows you to guarantee we can if someone's going to give me money, I can say to them, I can finish this movie because I know, we've seen where it could all go wrong across the script, and we've kind of taken that out.
Okay.
So when you realize that, like, oh, this scene isn't going to work, how quickly do you have to make that decision from the time you've written it to the time that you're actually going to start filming? Is it something that happens on the fly, or do you know way ahead of time?
It's just as soon as I'm writing it, guys. As soon as I might come up with a cool idea and I'm just like, oh, that would be great. Can't do it. You actually just think about the logistics of it. Like, how could we do it? And then the more you think about it, you're like, even if we could, it would take too much time. It's out. You know what I mean? And then that's the way we have to structure our films. Because 18 days sounds like a lot of time, but it's really not. It's not a lot of time.
No.
And the filmmaking is so fast, it just becomes such a blur of shots and angles. Like I remember on there was a martial arts film I did, I Am Rage, where I was prepping to shoot scenes I'd already shot, because there's just not 1 second to really take a breath and think about what you're away to do. It's everyone's into the set, shoot, boom, 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 next. So if anything did go wrong, it would throw such a big spanner into the shooting day. You just can't afford to have it.
Okay.
I would love to do a Hollywood movie where they're like, you got 3 weeks to shoot this fight scene.
Right. You might have 3 hours or 3 days. Right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah. There's got to be a flip side to that, though, where there's some happy accidents and or like an energy level. I would think when you're shooting that fast, that there's an energy that would seem contagious, or possibly.
Yeah, like we really make sure to block the scene. So we'll spend as much time. I'm talking maybe this is post Redwood Massacre 1, but like in our bigger movies, we really block the scene, spend the time, and then we'll, like a bat out of hell, shoot it into and then we move on. But because when you are shooting like that, there is quite a lot of natural problems that are solved that sometimes lead on to better things, and you're like, oh my God, yeah, that is much better, okay, let's do it, that turn out much better than how we would have actually planned to do it. So in that sense, for a lot of the time it works out for the best, actually.
That's nice. That's cool.
I'll say, as opposed to the first Redwood Massacre, where we maybe had too much time.
Right, you had every weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were just like, da.
It's probably a balance in between the two. How many takes do you usually get now with a fast shoot like that? Do you plan certain scenes for more and certain scenes for less?
So I'll shoot 3 takes. and really the second one's just in case of corruption. I'll normally 3 takes, and that's all the time we've got. But I'll make the time to cover. I used to be a professional editor, so I'm pretty good at, like I need to cover all the shots for the edit.
Mhm.
So I'll rush about like a maniac, using my time to get as many shots as I can before I'm kind of dragged away to the next scene.
So in general, 3 takes per setup for your
That's
shots to get your
if I'm
coverage.
if I'm going past 3 takes, I'm doing something wrong. It's normally me, not the actors. So
Okay.
and like say with like Danielle Harris, my kind of mantra is probably pretty bad. But like I'm not a professional actor, I'm hiring professional actors. So I feel sometimes I'm comfortable telling actors how to work. Like I'm good at the blocking of scenes.
Mhm.
You move from
Mhm.
here, you move from there. But 99% of the time, it's them that comes up with all the good stuff, and I'll just be like, I trust
Yeah.
you guys. Don't trust
What
me.
what's the difference in rehearsal time that you have between, say, the first film and the second film, where you're doing it completely on your own and you're trying to get these people together in their spare time versus you have a dedicated cast? Like, what do you start with table reads and then you do a rehearsal on set, or
There's
how does that
just
go?
there's none. I mean, in the first Redwood Massacre, we had like some weekends we'd maybe only shoot one scene, so we could
Mhm.
just take our time and like maybe overshoot it or try things, but we're still restricted because we were doing all the gore ourselves. We didn't have
Mhm.
enough money. Like maybe the actor could only film till this time because they started their job. That was the biggest problem. And then in the second one, just because the crews are bigger, you're spending a lot more money, and time is so valuable during the day that there is the rehearsal really was the first time we'd see the scene is when we blocked it out, and then we'd make the adjustments, and then that was it. We were shooting it. So it wasn't something like we would shoot something and be like, let's all talk about what could have we done different. We're off. We're on the next
Right.
scene. So it's not until you edit where you're like, oh wow, yeah, we could have done that different. But yeah,
Right. With the edit, you have what you have, and you see what you could. These are the ingredients you have. What kind of recipe can you make? You're not getting
yeah,
more ingredients. You're just getting that. One other thing in the Schlock segment I want to ask you and talk about is there were several Easter eggs in the second movie that were callbacks to the first that I really enjoyed, but also just with you doing a lot of horror movies and action movies, you had talked a little bit about the different tropes and how you're trying to do the tropes in the first movie and subvert them in the second movie. But this is it for Redwood Massacre, but also for just as a filmmaker in general, audience expectation, like, thinking about different kills, thinking about level of blood and guts, thinking about a moment of humor. What are some of the must-haves for you that you go into like, oh, this is going to be fun to put in this movie, or I'm going to try and do this here, things like that?
well, I think for the Redwood Massacre, obviously people went to see the gore. Excuse me, and we did the gore in the first one ourselves. And for the second one, we hired a professional. And unfortunately, and he was a nice guy, like 80% of all of the gore effects didn't work. So the second one is quite low on what was actually scripted. It was meant to be a bloodbath. And then it's kind of like more like an adventure movie now, I guess, where they're just like walking about. So was that the question? I mean,
Yeah, that answers the question.
it's like, you know what you got to tick off to do a horror,
Right,
you know, and that's the gore, I guess.
right.
And I think
Yeah.
we kind of failed. We probably failed in the second one, which in a weirder way led to the film slightly being longer to try and maybe cover. I don't know.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
that's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. Okay.
like we would end up. I would end up as everything was going wrong. I remember when we were cutting the movie, I was like, I'll put as much as Danielle Harris in now. Stuff I would normally have cut maybe shorter, and now we're extending it to try and maybe that was a mistake in hindsight as well. Excuse me.
Yeah. Darby?
Well, so the last question I would have for this section, just you had touched on this earlier, that you were semi attempting to make a standalone film to welcome in new people, new viewers. How much does the title play into that? Because I notice on the version that you had us watch, I believe it starts as Redwood Massacre 2, and then by the end of the credits, it's Redwood Massacre Annihilation.
I think we made a big mistake. We kind of misjudged, because we were kind of removed when the first one came out. Excuse me. When we were negotiating the deal, I always remember the distributor was like, listen, this is a tiny movie. You need to get this, that, and you're not going to get it. Here's the deal. And then the movie got all those deals. We got like the Red Box, Hulu, all we surpassed everything. And then we kind of moved on to the next movie. It never really looked back. So when it came to the second one, I wasn't convinced that many people probably have not seen it. It's a low budget, micro budget, independent film. So we called it Redwood Massacre Annihilation, and trying to think, well, this will probably be the first time people actually see this title. So we won't put a 2 on the end. And then ultimately, when it came out, I think it actually confused people. They thought it was maybe the first one, and it kind of affected sales in a weird way. And even when I remember Danielle was promoting it, people were just like, they weren't quite sure. So yeah, that's a kind of a regret, which I've kind of fixed myself. And like, I can't reach the audience that the distributor reaches with the movie called Annihilation, but I'm kind of glad that I've clarified it's 2, and it's 2 different movies. Especially because I'm trying to get the third one up.
Right.
And connecting the 2 movies, so like you and Chris have both said that there's Easter eggs from the first movie. We have Pamela from the first movie as I guess it's not our first kill, but one of the first kills in the film. What was the decision? We were talking about location earlier. What was the decision to not have the farmhouse from the first movie? Was that just purely we can't get it and we can't use it, or were you really trying to separate from the first movie?
I think that location got knocked down by the time we came to do the second one, but it was more a logistics thing because we had, I'll say, real actors. There was different considerations to make. Basically, like, I couldn't be like rocking them into a barn for 13 hours without toilets and all that kind of stuff. So we found places, like even in the forest, like 100 meters to the side, there's houses that we would hire with toilets, amenities. If we went up to the mountains, Danielle, we'd have like her trailer. And then we planned it specifically to do a lot of the movie in an underground bunker where we knew. And the only reason we did that was so we weren't affected by the weather. Once we were down there, that was it. We could shoot uninterrupted. And then they'd still have the catering. So it was, in a weird way, we just kind of bended everything.
So it was a true underground bunker.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask. That's
glazed over that part.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. So I assumed it was a set, but no, that was a real underground bunker. That's awesome.
So the house you see in the movie, there's a scene where they come and they stop by the house. It's a real house. It was used by the RAF and some Americans during the Cold War. So the house is a facade, and the guy who owns it, who's lovely, he kind of converted the house so he could live in it. But you go into the house, and then there's a little door, and you open the door, and it goes all the way. It goes down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you have access to that location, that's kind of a no-brainer. You're like, that's where we're shooting. That's where it's happening.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it really saved our ass, because when we're shooting on location in forests and all that, and we're kind of falling behind, we knew once we got to the halfway mark, okay, we're good, because now we're in a controlled set, really.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so we can't be stopped by anything. Little did we know.
Well, any other questions, or should we move into the next section, Darby?
Yeah, let's move into our bad portion. You don't have to tell us what you think
No,
is bad, but
don't worry.
you can definitely dish. You can spill
Yeah.
the tea here.
Yeah.
We'll start off with what was the most challenging aspect of creating both of these films?
Oh, I mean, the first one, you know, looking back, I mean, the first one was actually a lot of fun to do. It's just because it was more small, less
Mhm.
money. It was our own money, so there was no one above us like dictating anything. We just made our own mistakes in a weird way, you know. And yeah, the second one, it was just so different because there was a lot more money involved, and there was a lot more opinions. There was the heightened sense of Danielle's there, an ensemble cast of professional actors, and with
Mhm.
that comes its own problems. And a lot of the biggest challenges were navigating some of the actors. Not that I'm going to name names, but it definitely wasn't Danielle Harris. But it's the first time I worked in the film industry and I've seen difficult actors before, and this was the first time I had difficult actors in a movie, and I can't blame them. It was just, how do I get myself around this? How do I? It was just a perfect start. Let's put it this way: there is some actors that can adapt to independent film. Independent
Mhm.
film is completely different
Yeah.
to and some actors can't. It's a different beast because you lose an independent film. You lose all the Hollywood gleam of making what you think you're making a movie, and you're really
Yeah.
just, you got to pull together just to get over the finish line. So there were some people, I'll say some people, that who struggled with that. But there was only one. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm digging myself. I'm digging.
Well,
No, that's
everybody, make sure you're watching the movie and figure out who you think it
And
is.
like, on reflection, it wasn't necessary. It was just a perfect storm of, the movie is moving at such a breakneck pace, and a lot of the grievances were, you're not giving me the time. You're not giving me enough time. You're not directing me enough. You're not giving me the chance to kind of breathe the part. And we're like, we
right.
don't have time. By the time we finish talking about this,
Yeah.
we're behind schedule. So
It sounds like
a
it's just
lot of,
the nature of the beast.
yeah. So like, as annoying as it was, and like painful as it was, I can also see it from their perspective too.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's independent filmmaking. We don't have time to just sit there and drink tea and talk about a scene for 3 hours.
Right.
We've
Yeah.
got like 5 minutes to block it and shoot it and move on.
Mhm.
So that was the hardest part of making the second one.
Okay. This is more in general as a filmmaker. You can apply it to Redwood, but you wear a lot of hats, and I'm sure that comes with its own challenges. How do you separate, and what are some of the challenges you find being the director, the editor, etc.?
Yeah, so like in my case, it becomes easier to set a movie up because I say, I'll do the post-production, I'll take the hit, I'll take a back-end deal. If the movie makes money, I'll make money. Apologies. So I've kind of painted myself into a corner because I did that with the first couple of movies, and now it was just an expected thing. But on the flip side, if I was to go and hire post-production for these movies, the budget, the movies just won't get made, because once you
Mhm.
cross like $250,000, it's becoming such a high risk. Regardless if you've got someone like Danielle Harris, believe it or not, it's like
Mhm.
high risk investment. So just by me kind of letting them put all the money into the actual shooting production makes it more appealing to people to invest, if that makes sense. But
so for better or worse, in a way, it sounds like it's actually an advantage for you to have all these hats to get work and to make your films.
yeah, it like twofold, I guess. It like allows me to control the movie from start to finish, which is good and bad, in a sense that like Redwood Massacre 2 is too long. Like maybe if I wasn't as involved, it could have been naturally cut down. Like, and yeah, it's a hard. I'm always on the fence because I like part of me is like I would love to go and hire an audio post guy, and then the other half's like, oh, maybe I wouldn't because then there might be something lost in translation. So I don't know. I've been arguing with myself and my wife about that kind of thing for years, but nevertheless, I've kind of painted myself into a corner and have to do it in every movie now. It's just kind of expected, which I don't mind. I mean, I moan about it for every day that I do it, but I just don't think the movies would necessarily get made if I said it's going to cost another $70,000 for post. That might be the breaking point where they're like, nah, we're not making it.
Well, and so how do you go about getting money to finance a film? You said that it was all yours at the beginning in the first one, and then in the second one, are you getting money from Uncork'd, or are you finding investors, or where does the money come from, and how do you get it?
So I mean, this is a long story, but I'll shorten it. Like the first movie we did, it shouldn't have been distributed. It was so low budget, but somehow it actually managed to get distributed, and it made a lot of other people money, and we got screwed and all this. And because of that, we would have never been able to make another movie again. We financed our first one. So after that, we went to try and raise money, and they're like, we're never giving you money. And that was that was the end of it. So we're like, we'll try one last time. We'll take all our money, put it into this horror movie, hence why we picked horror, slasher. We're kind of hedging our bets, like we're not chasing an audience where it's already there. And luckily that movie went on and made a lot of money. That's when the doors open, because it's not, they can watch that movie even if I made it like Laurence of Olivier. It was like the greatest movie ever. They're not interested. They just look at the financials. So in that sense, it becomes easier. And by the time I think we made 2 movies after the first one, and I think only one of them made money. So Redwood Massacre 2, it was like the producers that came on board were pushing to have a bigger movie, stars. So it was one of those, I don't know. It's just all financial reasons that made it a bigger movie. Am I rambling on? I can't remember really.
No. No, you're doing awesome.
Yeah. I can't even remember how I started the question. I'm like,
well, we're just wondering, how do you get money for a film? And there's clearly a difference between both movies.
And you know what the difference is? The budget. People saying, oh, the budget doesn't make a difference. I had $30,000 for the first one and $250 for the second one. There's a big difference when it comes to the crew, like everything. That makes the difference. It becomes easier to get people to invest in your movie if you can make money, and that's why, like, we pick commercial movies. I'm not going out doing a drama or a comedy. I'm doing like high commercial horror, action, martial arts. It's all high commercial, where we're kind of casting the net as broad as possible to an audience to try and give the movies as biggest chance as possible of getting money back. So it's not necessarily like the movies I maybe want to even though I enjoy making them. It's just business sense for such small movies. It's, it seems the only route to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to look at some of the titles of my movies, like Primal Games, I Am Rage. They're all like,
Right. You know what you're getting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So you've talked about the two budgets. Are those outliers for you? Obviously your first one, you probably spent as little as possible to make it because it was all your own money. And the 250 is some of the other films have you made? Do they kind of run in between there, or is it really vastly different with each film?
So the last, I think, 3 movies have been about 250,000. I think that's the ceiling as where producers are concerned. That's, after that, I'm not sure we should be making this.
Okay.
And yeah, it's very hard to explain, even though it sounds like in the grand scheme of like Hollywood movies, $250,000 is nothing. For independent movies, it's quite a lot, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like they're still considered micro. I can't remember how SAG termed it. It was like super micro budget movie.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much money it just all goes into the production. It's like
So
by the
none
time you've paid for accommodation, actors, wages, crew, and I could turn around and be like, oh, it'd be great to have like this kind of prop here. There's no money for that prop. It's gone.
Right.
So in a weird way, making the second one was exactly the same as the first one, except on paper I had like 4 times the money. But just, you'd have more experienced crew, the actors more that's the difference. No difference technically filming a movie with the 2 different budgets.
Experience. So that doesn't include any of the marketing. Is that separate for you, or do you let the distributors handle that, or how does that go when you're budgeting?
So we're quite, believe it or not, you're quite removed from the marketing of the movie. Like we argued about the poster. Why is Danielle Harris not on the poster? Why is this? Why is that? So it's you're not really given a say in how they market the movie, believe it or not. And I know that's quite constant across a lot of distributors.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm lucky they'll let me cut my own trailer, because a lot of them will just go and cut a trailer for you and then charge you for it. So I get
Wow.
So I get to cut my trailer, and they pretty much leave me alone when I'm cutting the movie. So I'm kind of lucky in that sense. But once it's left here, I've got nothing to do with the movie, unfortunately. It's totally like out of my hands, literally. And I just got to sit there and watch it kind of unfold, sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we were talking a little bit before the show, kind of the difference between art and commerce, and how one influences the other. In order to make art, you need to make money. Which route as a filmmaker, I mean, an artist, would you rather take? Do you think you would rather low budget and complete control, or is it ultimately in the end worth it to get that bigger budget but with more strings attached to get something that you might not have been able to tell? You might not have been able to smash someone through a wall otherwise. What are the payoffs, do you think?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, if Hollywood came knocking and said, I want you to go and direct this massive movie, but we're going to have the final cut and this and that, I'd do it. I'd be like, yeah. But yeah, I'd be like, how much you paying me? Yippee, I'll do anything. But obviously, as you're starting out, because you're like you guys know, it's a lot of work making movies. The bad movies are, it's take just as much effort as making good movies. And doing the like low budget indie where you do have control, I'm kind of dying on my own sword, I guess. If they fail, it's down to me. If it's successful, I'm like, yay, see, I told you. But I don't know. I think it's a mixture of both. It's a complete, but it's such a, I think filmmakers in general don't realize that it is a film business, and if you can approach it that way, it kind of changes your perspective of all movies in a weird way. Like I know so many people are like, oh, I'm going to do a film about, the guy who went up the mountain and survived, and then the distributor's like, we'll never buy that kind of thing. And then
who cares?
And then I rock up. I'm going to do a movie called Primal Games with spaceships and laser beams, and they're like, "Here's the money." So it's it's yeah.
So you've talked about, like, you're only as good as your last movie, and you 250 is really the limit for a budget before they really are not interested in making it. But the less you spend, the more you have to make. You talked about how you do a lot of the post-production work for that. And then you look at like Hollywood movies, and like if they don't make X amount of dollars on their opening weekend, they're a bomb. Coming from the independent world, what is the time frame to realize if your movie was a success or not? Do you have a month? Do you have 2 years? Do you have how's that look, where you realize if your movie was successful or not?
Maybe, I mean, you get the financials in quarters. So like my producing partners, they did an action movie called Army of One. And that's maybe like a good success story, where the film came out, the first quarter financials were pretty bad. And then 2 years later, it's made like $3 million on like a $300,000 budget. That, is an independent success. But on the flip side, if you can get your budget back, that's also considered a independent success.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, for us, it's, let's get the investors back their money. Let's try and make money for the people that helped do the film. That's a success for us at the moment. Like, we're trying to break through. One day, hopefully, some guy's like, "Oh, it made like $7 million." I'd be off. I'd be on an island in Hawaii.
At least for 18 days.
Yeah. I'd be like, "I'm not making any movies anymore."
Peace out. That's funny. Yeah. Do you want to move into the next section, Darby?
I have one more thing in the bad section, just because it's kind of a point of interest for me. I don't know what the laws and regulations are for firearms in Scotland and filming with them. Was that an issue at all?
Yeah, I mean, you really can't get any real guns over here, but you can get prop guns. Like in Redwood Massacre 2, the guy that had like the huge gun, that was actually a lampshade. Someone had bought a deactivated gun, and it actually had a plug socket at the bottom. Sorry, so we just like removed that so we could pretend to have it. But yeah, it's just the same as like your like movies made. It's all, we still do the same safety stuff, and even though they're just like, really, they're just air gun, pellet gun things. You still see the movement. And in on our last film, we had more that was like live blanks and all that. So that's where I'd like to keep going, but it just takes so much time. To get them to work, and you're like,
here you can't just take a real gun and go, oh, we're going to film around the city, and you have to have your prop guns, you have to have firearm masters, you have to let law enforcement know. I don't know if there's I'm sure there are licensing type things you need to get. I just didn't know if there was more of that in Scotland or not.
Like a funny story in Redwood Massacre 2, because I had the Danielle Harris's Schlock. So for me, it's just a toy, because I know it's not real. So I'm like, spinning at my finger, and I'm like, "Here's your gun," and she's like, "Ah!" Because obviously, in America, it's treated a lot different. So the stunt coordinator would do the whole, echo chamber and all this, and I'm just like, so that's the difference in the UK. We don't get to see real or touch real guns, so they are just toys to us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get out of the bad section. Let's get out of the sad section and get into the fun section of what's great about making movies and the parts that are enjoyable in the whole process. I know I know, man, it is very, very stressful to film a movie. But in the few instances where we've been able to do things like that, it feels like at the end of the day, sort of a good stress. Like it's like I made something. Like I didn't just sit at a cubicle for 8 hours
Mm.
and have a spreadsheet to show for it. You know, you actually do create. You actually do get to create art for a living, and that's awesome. So, yeah, what were some of your favorite parts of the process in creating Redwood Massacre 2, or just in general?
Yeah. Well, it's weird for me because I went straight into the real film industry at the age of 20. So like this is all very quite normal for me. So I'm happy to moan about movies. And it's not until recently where I'm getting older and I'm reflecting and being like, I'm very, very lucky that people will give me money to make movies. Like I'm starting to realize that because, you know, not many people do get the opportunity to, you know, like make a stupid slasher movie and give you money and say off you go and
Mhm.
make those films. So, but no, it is when things for me when I think secretly I quite enjoy the drama of things not working. But on the flip side, because it is making a movie, you're stuck with people that you don't really know, and it's such an intense experience that it becomes almost like living in. You guys got Big Brother, you know.
Mhm.
It's a very unnatural experience, and then once you come out the back end, like it takes a few weeks to go. Did that really happen? Did we really do that?
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
there's lots of instances where I'm watching like Redwood Massacre 2 is great for out of body experiences of watching Danielle Harris beside a guy wearing a mask
Yeah.
holding the gun, and I'm just like, this is just not normal. What we're doing, it's so bizarre. But yeah, the good thing about, I mean, making movies, well, you know, people that want to make movies always find a way to make movies because
Mhm.
there's something about it that in a weird way is kind of like childlike, you know, when you're like a kid, you know, like your imagination, and when things do work and you do find the right people that are all like-minded, it is quite a cool experience, you know, making a film and then seeing it realized from paper to shooting and then sitting down with an audience watching it. It's quite
Mhm.
it's kind of, yeah, it's a bizarre experience.
Nice. Yeah. Um, what what's your favorite part of making a film? Like, is it the shoot? Is it the editing? Is it the other parts of post production when you actually see it all coming together? Like, what's the funnest for you? I'm sure there's pluses and minuses to all of it, but
It's probably the editing because the madness of making the film and then it's just like it's just you and the edit,
Mhm.
the Avid or whatever people use, and like to an extent even when I'm watching the movie making the movie, sorry, I still use viewfinders. I know everyone likes to use monitors, and in the same sense I still use a viewfinder because regardless of the madness what's happening, I can put my eye and that's all I see, and for me that
Mhm.
makes it a lot easier making movies. But I think, yeah, it's probably the editing because it's like a second chance at directing in a weird way.
mhm.
As long as you've got as much of the pieces as you can when you're shooting low budget movies, then it's kind of creative to just sit there and change and test and see what works, what doesn't work, and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
the sound for me is definitely the worst. I'll tell you, yeah,
Oh,
that's the
Yeah.
hardest part. It's epic.
well, you got a local band for the first film, correct?
Yeah.
To do not the scoring, but they had some of their songs throughout the movie. Um, were they in the second one? Were they playing over the credits in the second one?
Yes, they're called Deadfire. I did a music video for them years ago, and we just had no money for anything at the end of Redwood Massacre, and they kindly said you can use our track. And I think we put their next a track from their next album, like what was it, like 8 years later after the second one, we put one down there too. So that was just like a kind of
was that a bit of a relief of like, okay, now I don't have to figure out this portion of it, like we have some music for it
for the end credits. Is that what you mean?
Well, mostly in the first one, because there's parts where it goes on.
It was our own money, so any favor we could pull for the first film, anything that could save money, we were grateful for. I mean, the first film really was a favor film. Can you please, come down and do this for a day? Can we borrow this and that? And I mean, we always talk about it now because we're kind of a lot younger, but we could never make a movie like that now. No one would do it now. Like, give up their weekends on the off chance that if the movie makes money, they'll get paid. It just would never happen. So I think for us, Redwood Massacre one was like a one-off. We were always talking about how did we manage to do it, because we could never do it now. And it's so bizarre.
So in the movie itself, Redwood Massacre 2, what parts of that movie do you go back and look at and say, nailed it? Like, this is exactly what I wanted or what I pictured in my mind, or it came out better than I thought it was going to?
Oh, I don't think there was anything that actually worked out the way I wanted it to work out. There's sections of it'll be like random parts in that film where we're trying to give it the scope of it, making it look like they are in the middle of nowhere. And I think we kind of nailed that. Because honestly, like left and right, there was like buildings or that kind of stuff. So like, I do have fond memories. We had like a professional drone guy up, and it was pouring of rain, and we were just trying to get any shots we could. And then, of course, Danielle Harris.
Are beautiful shots. Absolutely beautiful shots.
And what was crazy, was pouring down with rain, but we knew we'd only have Danielle Harris there for a couple of hours. So the drone pilot would like position the camera. I can't remember how we did it, on takeoff, and then I don't know how we never got any rain on the screen. But he had like a special way of doing it, and it totally saved their ass, because the one thing we knew about Danielle Harris was she was never coming back. So if we didn't get everything we needed with her. So I mean,
how many days did you have her out of your 18-day shoot?
We had her. She came for the full 18 days, and I remember her when I was speaking to her. She's like, "I'm in this movie a lot." I was like, "I know you are." I think she thought she'd done a lot of other movies where she'd just do little parts, little sections and that. And I was like, if we're paying her all that money, she's been in the whole movie. We're putting her in there.
Right.
And to be fair to Danielle, the movie, we had a lot of problems, like I was talking about, and the movie really started to fall behind, and we were really panicking. And there was a point in the film where you still don't really know each other. And I'm sure she was looking at us thinking, these guys are just idiots. Like, what have I got myself involved in? And through the problems with the movie, in a weird way, it kind of cemented the rest of the cast and crew together, where she saved the film in a kind of weird way, because she identified how far we were slipping behind and said, listen, when it's all my scenes with blah, 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 we're going to catch the movie back up. And then kind of, in a weird way, probably invested more than what she normally would have to help us finish the film. And she did. She really banged through everything to make sure that we'd catch the schedule up.
Nice.
So, she was very nice, actually. I did try once to direct her, which was a funny story. And she just kind of looked at me and she said, I've done these movies so many times, I don't need to write it. I was like, oh, it's fair enough.
Check that off the box. Don't need to do that.
Yeah, so that's what speds the stuff up so much. We block the scene. You come down here, you end here. Off we go. 2 takes. Daniel Harris, every shot. One, take the first take, second take, in case problems, digital, that kind of stuff. And that's how we kind of like push through that movie.
Nice. Anything else, Darby?
Where did the decision? I really like this. A killer trying to find a killer. I think that's a very original idea, and so I'm wondering how you developed that and where that came from.
So when the first movie came out, I mean, it hit broad, right? It was on Redbox for like 3 years. It was on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
It went broad, and back then people were more than happy to contact me to say how much they hated the first film. So, so I would have, wow, I'd spend, there was a lot of hate. That movie, it's low budget and it's went out broad, and people are watching that movie and like, God, I just wasted my money on this. So and obviously there was people who liked it too, but the whole thing was I was just desperate to kind of switch up the formula, like even for my own mentality, because it was quite boring filming slasher movie. Everyone's like walking about slowly, the door opens, you're like, hello? They get killed. So it was just kind of trying to come up with anything that would make it slightly different to what people would expect in a slasher. And for some people, that really worked. But for the general horror community, it didn't. Like a lot of the positives from part 2 was people that don't necessarily like slasher films quite enjoyed the second one because it was like a character driven, there wasn't too much blood, violence. So it was quite interesting seeing the different opinions. If we had made the gore work, I think maybe the second film would have worked better overall. And there was other stuff, like we got forced to put a producer's wife in the movie that made no sense and stuff like that. So it was like, I call it. I call the movie that it is what it is movie.
Well, it's so weird what people's different tastes in horror is. If you get on, I don't know, Facebook or Reddit forums for horror and you say, hey, I like this movie, let's talk about it, people are like, that's not horror. And I mean, it could literally be anything. And say, well, that's not horror, that's just a gore fest, that's not horror. Or you put on something, well, that's actually technically more of a psychological thriller, it's not horror. And they like a very whiny bunch, these people.
That we are.
That we are.
Yeah, that we are.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Like I'm the same. I could go and watch like a big $100 million movie and go, what a heap of rubbish. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
It's like a flippant remark. But the horror community, it is hard to please. Well, even if it's a multi-million-dollar horror, you're having to hit a really high bar to please the horror community. So
yeah. Well, it's the horror community is so niche. Like, you just can't. There's not one horror community, right? There's people who love slashers and love other horror. There's people who love horror but hate slashers, right? They want like a ghost story or something more supernatural.
Possession, exploitation, or whatever.
Yeah. So I think it's hard to please.
And the first Redwood Massacre in that sense was quite interesting because in the end, a lot of people watched it, and you could kind of categorize the audience like the people that loved low budget slasher that are willing to watch an independent film and say, you know what, it wasn't great, but I quite enjoyed that. And then you have the other people that are like, this is terrible, it's just low budget rubbish. And so it's vastly different. It is quite interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's hard to to find that place to hit the mark of what you create. And then especially when you talked about, not having a lot of control with the marketing and distribution of like where you're hitting that audience and where you're not hitting your target audience. I'm sure that's interesting.
Well, I mean, I guess the scary thing about doing micro budget films is there's no disguising it's a micro budget film, and they're going to put it out the same as a film $10 million, and it's going to still hit the same audience. And always in the back of your mind, you're like, like, we did our best. You know what I mean? But I'm not there in everyone's house to be like, guess what? We only had 2 minutes to do this scene, or So people do just watch in their own merit and be like, well, he brought it, like, and that's of course they're right, because that's just what everyone does.
Right.
Well, we talked just before the show, poster. It's all about poster. Can you get a cool poster? Can you get a cool name? And they'll, I guess, invest a lot of money into that just to get the person to rent the movie, click on the movie. Doesn't matter if it's no budget or big budget.
Yeah, it's and this is maybe different for other people, I don't know, but my consensus of doing this, it's who's in your movie? And you're like, no one. They're like, okay, you better have a good poster. Okay, we've got the poster. Right, let's see the trailer. Okay, the trailer's good. And you're like, do you want to see the movie? No, we don't care about the movie. We've got the poster and trailer. Right, let's go. That's the way. That's the way independent distribution goes.
Yeah, I guess they know what they're doing. They've done it for a long time, but it seems backwards to me.
Yeah. It would be interesting to, maybe there is distributors that have made movies themselves, and maybe the Jason Blum guy's a good example of someone who's been involved in making movies and carved out a different way of distributing movies. But largely, most of the people that work, sales agents and that, I don't think of it really have experience in movies.
Right.
When I'm arguing about things going wrong in distribution, if I look through, sometimes I forget to take out the emails, you can see that they don't even know what like surround sound is or this or that. So that's what you're dealing with.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Well, nice positive for all up and coming filmmakers.
Well,
you got to know the battles.
Before we start wrapping up the show, I'm wondering if you can tell us about Redwood Massacre 3. Is there anything you can tell us about it? Are we going to go to Vegas?
No, we're not going to Vegas. We got forced to add that bit in. But it was kind of weird because just out of the blue, the distributor who had put money into the second one, he says, look, we wanted to do the third one. And I was just like, no, please. So I was like, okay, I'll write the script. I wrote the script, and I was like, you know what? The script's actually, I think I've got it right this time. It's set in the 80s. It's a prequel. It's kind of fun. We cast it. We did the locations, and then it just kind of fell away. He had too many movies to put out, and he's like, let's put it on the back burner. But at the same time, we started getting millions and millions of views on TikTok, just putting clips up. Not necessarily people enjoying the movies, but there's something about maybe the simplicity of the way he looks that people stop and watch, which kind of reignited some of our other producers that make movies. They're like, let's fund this maybe ourselves. It looks like there's the audience might be there now for a third movie. So we're doing another movie next, but the next one we want to do is Redwood Massacre 3. So we're hoping to do that next summer. I'm hoping.
Nice. Very
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I told you I would give you a chance to plug the next big thing that you have coming out. What is it that people should be looking out for from you in the near future that they can go and support?
So we had our most recent movie, Primal Games, that just came out in May. That had its own problems with the PR company, so nobody knows it exists. So if anyone's watching this, it does exist. And the next movie is
Where
called
can that be
Savage.
seen?
It can be seen pretty much anywhere, but it's
Rented
just
on Amazon, watch
yeah,
on TV.
Apple TV, Fandango. It's everywhere, but it just has no. It just had zero exposure. So, and we're still kind of ducking that out with the distributor and PR company, believe it or not. So, yeah, it was weird. But the next one, Savage Prey, so that stars an actress called Martha Switek, who's like, I'm not big into computer games, but she was like the voice, and she's got a big following for Five Nights at Freddy's and Call of Duty, and she was in one of my older movies. So we're doing like a horror thriller, a bit lower budget than our last films.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we shoot that next in like 20 days. So,
Nice.
so
Cool.
yeah, it's just kind of just constantly throwing scripts out, seeing what kind of sticks, and then kind of powering through to get them made.
Nice.
So until that comes out, Primal Games is the thing to go see, and maybe get caught up on Redwood Massacre 1 and 2, because the third one is going to be coming out.
Yeah. I mean, financially, the first and second one have had a big revival, so it is kind of fun to go back and talk about them, because we really did think they were dead and buried, kind of thing. So
I think they're getting thousands of views an hour on YouTube.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's always managed to get big views. The character, and maybe not so much the film. So we're kind of like, fingers crossed, we nailed the third one, and we finally like maybe get the character to cross into, you know, pop culture. We just had like a little Lego guy of him come out, and
really
maybe a comic book.
Oh, that's real.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a promotional.
No, thing. I went and bought them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's an unofficial. It's not real Lego, but it's like, I don't know what the company is. Like Hero Blocks that do all the custom.
Oh, gotcha.
That's awesome.
I wish it was. I wish it was Lego.
A little slasher, build your own set.
Yeah.
Now I want to see the Lego movie version of Redwood Massacre.
Yeah, that's next.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. You've been just great.
You're welcome. I hope I haven't waffled on too much.
No, it was awesome, and we hope we didn't burn you out too much on here. We've had you with us outside of the show for a long time, but you are welcome to come back on here anytime and tell us anything that's going on.
Yeah, this was great.
I will.
So we got another show coming up on September 22nd. We'll be reviewing the original Toxic Avenger movie. So make sure you tune in and check that out. I'm Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. Underneath me is Chris Anonymous, and joining us has been David Ryan Keith. We've been compelled by Schlock, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Schlock on, everybody.
I am